Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. So I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I wanted to go all the way back to the beginning. So for those of you who are lifetime listeners, that means that you've been listening for 9 months. I think we're getting in the 10th month now. So we're going to start saying 10 months. So lifetime listeners are folks who have been listening for 10 months. So I'm going to do a recap of why we're here. And the reason why I'm doing this is because today I had a really awesome day, and I called it Support Group Day. I went to AA in the morning, my normal 7 a.m. AA meeting. And then I went to a vestibular support group, and I went to a stroke support group, and then I went to another vestibular support group. And because they all fell on the same day, and I really wanted to check them all out. So I just put everything aside and went to support group meetings today. And it was so nice. And I did share with folks in the groups that I do a podcast. And so I thought, well, it would be pretty special if I welcome newcomers today. And what is interesting is, because this always happens to me now that I'm sober, my morning meeting for AA was about newcomers. So that's just what happens in my life now, and I'm just used to it. So today I wanted to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about me and why I'm here and why I do this, and then talk about the importance of us welcoming newcomers in our support groups and our fellowships and that kind of thing. So, Rachel Abbasi, if you see me in other places as Rachel Miller, that's because I just got married on Valentine's Day to my boyfriend of 18 years. So, yeah, congratulations to me. And so why we're here. So I had a stroke in 2021 in June, and it ended up, I had a headache. Okay, I'm totally summarizing here, but I had a headache. I've had a headache every day since then, and nobody can make the headache go away. So I went back to work. I had some language and memory and speech issues, but those have kind of dissipated over time. I went to a neuropsychiatrist. I do have some deficits in that area, but it's really more so that I can tell more than anybody else. So fast forward, I still have a headache. I ended up working myself to the point where I had excruciating migraines and I had to stop working. And so what I'm dealing with now is starting to become clear as a vestibular disorder. So I'm the lucky winner of 3, I would say 4. We're going to say 4 not silent. I always say that, invisible illnesses. So we've got the alcoholism, and I've been sober for 8 years this month, April 28th. So just going to keep coming back one day at a time until that happens. And then I'm just going to come back the day after that because it just never stops. So we've got alcoholism, we've got depression and anxiety, which I take medication for. I've had this my whole life. And we have the stroke, cognitive disorders, and we have the vestibular disorder. So why I'm here is because when I finally had to leave my job 10 months ago, I was devastated. As I learned today in one of my support groups, many folks are. And, it almost feels like when we go through things like this that we're the only ones that are truly devastated. It's almost like when I went to my first AA meetings, it was like, okay, I get it that you all like to drink, but you don't understand. I am obsessed with alcohol. But they did understand. And I just had to keep coming back and listen to their stories to start hearing my story come out of their mouths. So, anyway, I discovered that uh, the day that I walked away from my job, that I have got to find something to obsess about, some way to share what I'm going through, or I'm at risk for drinking. So at that time, which was 10 months ago, I was thinking about muscle relaxers and alcohol as being a potential solution to my discomfort, my pain, both physical and emotional. So that's why I knew that I had to do something and I had to do it immediately. So I reached out to my brother and I asked him to start a Spotify account for me. And he did with the help of his daughter, my lovely niece. And I recorded my first episode. And we have been recording almost every day since then. I've missed 3 days total, I think. Actually, I think I may have missed 4. Shame on me. But I'm here every day, every evening. And you may notice, my lifetime listeners, that I just started doing video. I haven't been doing video this whole time because of my head problem, but I've discovered that I can look over the computer, or I can look, to the right or to the left, and it's okay. I can get through an episode like that. And I think it's nice to actually have a face with a voice. So that's why I've started to do my camera. I also have been talking about some things that I feel it's really important to show my face. And I don't do my hair and get myself all ready, although I have started to actually put on a nice shirt for the occasion. But I want to show my face because I think it conveys even more about the message if I'm showing my face. So that's why there are a few episodes I'm in my closet, and the reason for that is because the sound is better in there. But today I have a boom in the shot. I thought I would try to see what the sound is like back in what used to be my office, and now it is my hobby room where I've got my sewing machine, and I do all kinds of stuff in here to try to find the happiness in a way that is, I have a new body now. I have a body that works differently than it used to. And because of that, I have been trying to find new ways to enjoy myself. And I'm getting there, I'm getting there, but I know that it's a long road emotionally to try to get to the point where I'm even accepting my situation to start looking for new hobbies and ways to enjoy myself. So a lot of the episodes thus far are about emotional, about willingness, about acceptance, about courage, about, a lot of the struggle with our identity, how that changes after any kind of chronic illness, be it any of the ones that I deal with or any other folks. So, Recovery Daily podcast, I record every day because recovery is every day. And I want to convey that the importance of putting that kind of effort into your recovery every day. That's why I'm here. The only days that I've missed are 2 days I missed because I found out I had a half brother that I wasn't aware of. And I needed I needed to I needed to deal with acceptance. I needed to spend some time with family. And then I missed Easter. And then there was another day I think I missed because I was just unable to function. So I know those of you who are in stroke recovery and have vestibular disorders can really relate to that. I noticed that also in my support groups today. So let's breathe. I talk a lot. I talk really fast. So I hope that's not annoying. I guess you'll just not click play if it's annoying. That's fine. Okay, so that's a really quick introduction. I don't even know if it was a very good introduction, but that's who I am. I have a website. You can read much more about who I am and why I have started the podcast. There's a blog on my website. It's recoverydailypodcast.com. And I take some of these episodes and I expand on the topics that I feel really resonate with the audience. And so I post those on the website. I also have social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, that it all gets posted on YouTube as well. So, and any podcast platform that you prefer, I've got this being posted on there. Okay. So, one thing that we do here is we have a monthly listener challenge, and this month's listener challenge is acts of kindness. So, what my challenge is for you is to commit to performing one act of kindness each day. It can be as simple as giving someone a compliment, holding the door for a stranger, or sending a thoughtful message to a friend. And notice how these acts of kindness impact both the folks that you are reaching out to and giving a piece of yourself to, and how it impacts you as well. So I performed what I'm going to call 2 acts of kindness today. One is you have to say that kind of, it almost feels like you're not very humble when you're saying that. But okay, so I did it twice. There was one of my friends in sobriety that I haven't talked to in a really long time, and she crossed my mind. So I sent her a text and she responded. And then I haven't responded back to her. So that probably is a half of an act of kindness. And then the other one is I was in a vestibular support group today, and I made sure that I took a moment to talk to the newcomer in the group about how brave she is. And I really, it's not like I'm doing this out of just trying to check it off that I had an act of kindness today. I really mean that. Like, she came into this vestibular support group meeting, and she was talking about she has some younger kids, and they're I think 12 and 8, I think was somewhere around there. And she really was so brave and talking about the challenges that she faces. But man, the more she talked, the more she was talking about the creativity that she and her husband have in raising the kids with this chronic illness that she has. And it was so inspiring. We were twins. She also had on her migraine glasses, and I pointed that out, of course. Twinsies. And I don't know, it was nice. And I wanted to make sure that she knew that, because I feel like a lot of times we don't communicate great things that we think about other people. We don't always say it out loud to them. And I think it's important to do that. So that was my whole act of kindness. And I will complete my first act of kindness after the podcast. I will respond to the individual that I reached out to today. Okay. So that is this month's listener challenge. Now, so I'm welcoming our newcomers a warm welcome. Today's episode, I'm just really, I want to make sure that our arms are open, the airwaves are open to the newcomers in any recovery community that have come here because you either found me online or we cross paths in one of these support groups. Whether you deal with alcoholism, whether you came here because you are a stroke survivor, but you have a family member that you fear might suffer from alcoholism or something. Alcoholism touches so many people. I don't want to dismiss that some folks that are here for one reason may actually gain some benefit from many of the different topics that we talk about here. So, but what I wanted to talk about is what was interesting to me is in sobriety, we talk about how everyone is welcome, in AA, right? I don't a lot of times say AA in the podcast. I usually say my sobriety program, because I don't know, when you say AA, it kind of defeats the purpose of the fact that it stands for Alcoholics Anonymous, right? So anyway, so in my sobriety program, there's a letter from one of the co-founders, Bill Wilson, and he talks about the importance of, the old adage where you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Well, so Bill Wilson, he talks about this same thing in a letter in 1942, and he talks about how just simply placing the pail of water next to the alcoholic, telling him how good it is, how good that water is, and then walking away and letting them, figure it out. I guess that is the essence of the approach in my sobriety program, where it's a program of attraction, and we can't force people to change, but we want to always keep the water readily available, right? Keep the support and resources readily available. And that's one thing that I am trying to do here with this podcast is when I hear about some of these support groups or resources or anything like that, I want to hop on here and tell as many people as I can, because I want to offer the opportunity for folks to find a greater opportunity to find those resources when they are available. I've experienced this open door policy like we have in my sobriety program. It's a little different in there. Some people, they'll come to meetings and they'll disappear for a while and then they'll come back. And the point there is to not judge and welcome people back. So I have personally experienced that, where I didn't stop drinking the first time or the second time or the 20th time. It took me several years of showing up, going back out, showing up, going to detox, showing up, going back out. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot. And then I finally was able to stay. When I was willing to do whatever it took to get sober, then I was willing to stay. When I was willing to listen to other people's suggestions, every suggestion, it got to the point where I couldn't just pick and choose what suggestions I wanted to listen to. I had to take every single suggestion that was given to me in order to stay sober. So what this has done is it has kind of transferred over into my stroke recovery and vestibular therapy. I just started vestibular therapy, and the one of the first things my therapist said was, "Trust me. You just have to trust me." And I thought, well, there's one thing that I can do, and that's keep coming back, I'm running out of options also. So I did mention that to her. But what I noticed today in one of the vestibular therapy or vestibular support groups was this welcoming feeling that was available to this young woman that I mentioned earlier, who was a newcomer. It was like it was nothing short of inspiring and uplifting to hear everybody raise their hand and want to share their story and just a little bit of hope with the newcomer. I didn't hear people other than talking about their particular story. When that story was over, it changed from I to we. And I even heard in this vestibular group, one of the women said, it's not, she said, yeah, we've been researching that and we've decided that, this is what's good for us. It was like they were one entity, and they were in recovery together. And that is what it's like for me in my sobriety program as well. My 7 a.m. meeting that I go to every single day as part of bookending my day, I have that in the morning and I have my podcast in the evening. It is my family. We are recovering together. And if any one of us is broken, we all stand up and lift them up. And I'm noticing that so quickly in these other support group meetings, and I'm really excited about that. I mean, how can you not have a good day when you go to 4 support group meetings? They were all just really great people. I even said to a friend of mine, I had a really great day. It was so nice to know that so many people are suffering from the things that I'm suffering from. And she was like, that didn't sound good. And I was like, well, that's, you know what I mean? It's nice to know that there are people to talk to. Of course, I don't want anybody suffering. But when somebody comes into the rooms, whether it's my sobriety rooms, stroke recovery, vestibular disorders, all of our lives become richer from that one newcomer that comes in the room. Because when they start, if they're willing and are able to share a bit about their story and they show their vulnerability and maybe shed a couple tears or something, it reminds us of what it felt like in the beginning. And and it strengthens the bond of the community and helps us to keep walking forward in a more united way, walking the same rhythm with each other. So in stroke recovery and vestibular therapy, I am the newcomer, really. And I've been gaining so much knowledge from the old timers. And old timers doesn't mean that you're old. Old timers means that you have been fighting the fight for a while, fighting the good fight, and passing along the information and lifting up the people that are reaching for you. You're in the boat and we're reaching up with our life preservers and wanting you to pull us in, and you do. And it's really been so nice. Not every month have I been, I guess, prioritizing support group attendance. And I'm hoping as time goes on that it will become a regular thing. I have been challenged knowing when it's on my schedule. I also, as you know, I've been challenged with going back and forth with voiceover on my digital devices, and I miss meetings, I miss emails, and that kind of thing. But what I want to do is I'll provide the information for the support groups in the episode description as well. So I feel very much like you guys who are listening to me blab are a community. And we have been evolving. You may not know it. You may know that all you do is show up here and push play. But what's been happening is that you guys have been growing, and I'm honored. That's an understatement that people want to even hear what I have to say, really. All I want to do is share what I have experienced so that other people don't have to suffer as long as I have. Whether it's from alcoholism, stroke recovery, having to go to 3 different neurologists and still now waiting to see a 4th because I'm not getting what I need after I had my stroke. It's been 3 years and I'm still trying to find the right neurologist. And I have found out that that's nothing new. Everybody I talk to is struggling to find the right neurologist. The neurologist who's not just going to reach for the prescription pad, And my experience has been that I went to my first neurologist, and he was the sweetest, cutest little man, but I could not get through, and his receptionist was terrible, and she was rude, and they were not helpful at all. And even though he was fantastic and he was in the business for a really long time, his office and the staff there sucked, and I couldn't get in. There wasn't enough staff, I think, to manage what he was trying to do at that office. So I went to another neurologist who I said, I've had this headache ever since I had my stroke. Oh, well, that's weird. Stroke survivors don't usually have a headache. Why don't you come back after a year and we'll see if you still have the headache? Well, I still had the headache. So I had to suffer for a headache for, I think that was 7 months. Let's see, 7, No, that was 9 months until I got to go back and he was going to address it. I didn't have to do that. I should have fought for myself. I should have found another neurologist immediately in that case. And now I've been going to another neurologist who, this one has not been recommending that I see a neuropsychiatrist, that I see a neuro-ophthalmologist, that I see an optometrist, that I see a psychiatrist, that I, see a vestibular therapist or an ENT. This neurologist has recommended zero of those things. I'm the one who did the research, and I'm the one who said, I read this article. Okay, I read the article, the one with the migraine and the vision impairment, read the article. Now, often, to be honest with you, I was listening to the article because I was using voiceover more months ago than I am now, which is good and bad, I think. Anyway, I am the one who's listening to these articles and the next time I have a neurologist appointment, I'm like, so this, my symptoms are very much in line with what I read about vestibular disorders. Do you know what a vestibular disorder is? And she just kind of, oh, okay, well, and then she wrote me an order to go see a ENT. And then, let's see, what was I going to say? Sorry, sometimes this happens. Brain fog. We're going to call it brain fog. I don't know. I was going to say ENT. I don't know. It's gone. I can't remember what I was going to say. But, we have to fight for ourselves. And what I have found is going to these support groups is where I'm getting the help that I need. We're all fighting together for sure. So let's see. So in my sobriety program, we have these steps, right? If you're familiar with AA, it's got 12 steps, and they are packed full with spiritual principles, not religious principles, spiritual principles. And they are a way to unite folks in all paths of life to walk a unified path. Principles before personalities. And this I've tried to apply this approach to my own stroke recovery since day one of this past, when I left my job, so 10 months ago. I realized that these steps of my sobriety program are 100% applicable to stroke recovery. And now that I'm in vestibular therapy and I'm going down this recent road of being diagnosed with a vestibular disorder and to be exact, triple PD or PPPD is what it's called, and vestibular migraine. As today's one of the days that I'm continuing to lose my train of thought, and I so apologize for that. But we don't hit stop and we don't take pieces out of the podcast because it's real life action. So what I was saying was that it's gone. Terrible. Oh, I apply the steps to my stroke recovery in that the very first day when I had to walk away from my job, I was sitting outside on my front stoop and I just started crying. I was crying because I realized at that moment that my life was unmanageable. And this is exactly what I had to deal with when I had to get sober. I could not manage my own life. Now, it was different in a lot of ways. The pain that I was suffering from with my migraines and the vision, we're going to call it, at this time, I thought it was a vision impairment. And I have since realized that it's a vestibular disorder, I strongly believe. So it was a physical pain that I was dealing with. When I got sober, it was an emotional pain, but I was physically ill as well. So once the clouds kind of cleared away, a couple days later, I'm not sure, I'd have to go back and look at the episodes, but I realized that alignment, that parallel between both situations when I got sober and when I had to leave my job and I had to stop being in denial. I had to accept that my life was unmanageable and I had to do something about it. And I talk about that all the time. If I don't change something, then nothing's going to change. And so I use the steps of my sobriety program in my stroke recovery and vestibular rehabilitation. So while discussions of higher power and God are not a usual focus of mine, they are an integral part of my recovery program. I did not grow up a religious person, but I had to create a strong relationship between me and my concept of my higher power in order for me to stay sober. And I've talked about that in past episodes. I'm sure I'll talk about it again. But the nature of that higher power is personal to me, and it can be varied across the sobriety community. And in every recovery, what it does for me is it helps me to recognize that, number one, I'm never alone. I think that's the most difficult part of the isolation that I have been dealing with stroke recovery and vestibular rehabilitation, is the isolation, because I physically can't leave. If I do, I guess I physically can leave, but if I do, I'm miserable and in a lot of pain. So that, number one, I'm not alone. And number two, I'm not in control of people, places, and things. The only thing I'm in control of is my response to what's going on. My embracing willingness, acceptance, humility, and gaining the wisdom to distinguish between what I can control and what I can't control. That is the cornerstone of what I'm doing here on this podcast. So I'm gonna wrap it up. I feel like I was all over the place, but that's fine. I guess. I don't know. I hate to be all over the place for newcomers, but whatever. So to all of you who may be new to the Recovery Daily podcast, I want to thank you for stopping by to give me a chance. The episodes are not set up in a way necessarily where you have to listen every day. There are tons of them, because I'm recording every day. You can find the topic that might resonate with you and listen to them like that. I have a couple pretty strong episodes that speak to some of the foundational points of my program. there are some that solely focus on sobriety, some that solely focus on stroke, some that are focused on vision therapy, because I thought I had a vision impairment. I mean, yeah. And so it's the journey. The whole thing is the journey. If you want to obsessively listen to all of them, you're welcome to do that as well. But I just want to thank you. I want to take the time to thank you for showing up. If you want to continue to come back, hit follow or subscribe or whatever the button is on whatever platform you're on. You can reach out to me on my email at rachel@recoverydailypodcast.com. You can befriend me on social media, again, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and I want to learn from you, really. I mean, I'm the one with the mic, but it's so important for me to be able to listen to you. So if you don't reach out to me, I'm going to be showing up in stroke support groups and vestibular support groups. And I've been going to all these new sobriety meetings and everything because I want to continue to not only provide that pail of water, leave that out for folks, but I also want to drink from it, you know? I commend everybody who hits play, because if you hit play, it means that you want to be a better version of yourself. And that's why I'm here, because I want to be a better version of myself. And the only way that I feel like I can do that is to get out all of the stuff that's in what I call my dark place, and share it so that it doesn't get darker and it doesn't make me sicker and I don't pick up a drink. So whether you're battling an addiction, alcoholism, reclaiming your life after a stroke, or you are nauseous and throw up every day because you have vestibular dysfunction, you know, when you click play, you are magically transported into my community, and I see you. And I just want to commend you on your bravery and the growth that is ahead of us. And I certainly cherish all the fellowships that carry us and that I was able to be a part of today. It really made for a fantastic day for me. So thanks for joining me on the Recovery Daily podcast. I will talk to you tomorrow.